Hey everyone, welcome back to Poppin' In with Alexa and Molly. I'm Alexa.
I'm Molly.
And today we are sitting in a hot office during a heat wave about to talk about some hot people.
It's a scorcher.
Those hot people are us. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, yes. I mean, I'm kidding. We're going to talk about movies and other things, but also we're hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got some hot topics.
Yes, we should say, because we always forget, I always forget at the top of the episode, we're going to post the timestamps in our episode description. It's also on our Instagram page at Poppin' In Podcast. Follow us, but you can also skip through if you don't want spoilers for anything, because we're about to get into some dirty details. But first of all, how are you, Molly?
I'm great.
Good.
How are you?
You look very cute. She's got her hair in like a little braid with her little pearls that she got from the Quirk in Richmond.
Shout out to Mary Crossley if you're listening, friend of the pod. She braided my hair today.
And it must look good. I don't know if you heard, but when you were downstairs, Chris was like, your hair looks good.
I didn't hear that.
I know. I figured
wouldn't
you
have
did.
ignored him.
Well, I figured you didn't because then you were like talking about something else, and I was
Damn.
like, I don't think he was offended, but I was like, wow, Chris noticed someone's hair. One time I chopped off 4 inches,
and he didn't say anything.
I was like, I was hurting my neck flipping it around, and he was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "I got a haircut."
Yeah, Matthew knows now. Like as soon as I walk through the door from a hair appointment, he's like, "I like your hair." Like he knows now.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, now I feel bad.
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna think about it ever again, so don't worry.
I really like crushed his spirit, I think.
Yeah, he's a real sad boy. No. But anyways, we hope you guys are staying cool in this hot heat wave. We are not. I have been suffering, honestly. Like, I don't think I can handle being alive in the summer anymore.
That is maybe true. It is in the hundreds here. Feels like Jell-O outside. But you know what that means? More time to consume content. I don't know.
Yeah, that's all I've been doing is, like, staying inside and watching. And you know what I think brought this heat wave? The hottest love trio on screen this summer.
I don't think that's what it is.
I mean, it premiered last week, and then, well, yeah, our world is burning.
I think we're in danger,
and we
but
should take climate change very seriously.
Chris Evans, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
But also the heat wave was the Materialists.
Yes, we saw the Materialists, which, well, we'll get into what it's about. But for those who don't know, it is Celine Song's new movie. Mm-hmm. It's a romance,
and she's the one who directed Past Lives, wrote and directed that one, which was Oscar nominated.
Yeah.
I think it won for some Oscars. I can't remember.
So.
It was a couple
nominated,
years ago. But great film if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm interested now. But it has, so the Materialist has Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal. It's like a little bit of a love triangle, kind of.
Someone was debating this, and they were like, I guess it is because she does have to choose between...
She has to choose between the two of them.
Yeah.
But it's not like the two of them are really... They're not really competing with each other, except Chris Evans kind of is.
They, like, barely know each other exists.
Yeah, they only have, like, 2 scenes together.
Yeah, so to get into kind of the premise, if you haven't seen it, and again, we might say some spoilers, so, like, skip ahead if you don't want to know, but, Dakota Johnson plays Lucy, who is a matchmaker in New York City, and she always says that, like, relationships are math. She's like, okay, the guy is 6'2", he makes $300,000 a year, and the woman is 31, and she makes $150 a year, and she's like, it's just math, it's just gonna work, or whatever. So that's kind of how she gets introduced to us, and she's really good at her job, and she meets Pedro Pascal's character Henry at a wedding, and she's like, you're a unicorn, you know, like, you're handsome, you're charming, you're not, like, boring, you're super wealthy.
Like you're a rarity among, like, our match, like, when she's talking about what people, like, what guys, like, the matchmakers look at, like, they're like, you're a unicorn. Yeah,
and she's like, let me set you up with someone. He's like, I want to be set up with you. And she's like,
meanwhile.
So
that she meets him at a wedding, but then at that same wedding, a past figure in her
past life
reappears.
Celine Song really does have a vibe.
She loves past lives.
She also loves a love triangle.
Okay, yeah. And so Chris Evans plays a guy that she used to date, that Dakota Johnson used to be in a relationship with, but they broke up because of...
He was too poor.
He was broke, and she just wasn't about that life.
Yeah, they show a flashback scene to, like, them fighting on the street because he doesn't want to pay $25 for parking, which honestly in New York City seems like a dream.
Right.
But, like, she's just like, I'm tired of being broke.
Yeah.
And so, like, Pedro Pascal asks, like, what are you looking for in a guy? And she's like, rich.
Yeah.
We want him
and he's
to be
like,
rich.
well, I can give you that.
Yeah, there you go.
And again, he's just like, he's handsome. He's such a gentleman.
Yeah.
The thing is, and so anyway, Chris Evans is kind of now back in her life. But he's like, he's a cater waiter. He's doing acting on the side. He's still not really at that. He has like 3 roommates still.
They do a good job of showing like a disgusting New York apartment of
realistic,
like men
yeah.
where like he's literally just like, why is there a used condom on the floor? And his roommate was like, I don't know, I was drunk. I thought it would be gross to throw it in my trash can.
Yeah. And like, not to judge, but keep in mind, like, in real life, Chris Evans is, I think, like, he's in his early 40s. And I think in the movie he's supposed to be in he's late
37.
37. So late 30s. It did feel, it was kind of like, oh, you're still in this situation.
Yeah.
Like,
so, like, they haven't been together, I think it's been, like, 5 years or something since they've broken up. But you can tell, like, the chemistry is still there.
Definitely.
Because they, like, see each other. I thought, okay, this was, I think, one of the hottest scenes of... There's not, like, a lot of sex scenes, like, but there's a lot of, like, building emotion where... She says something where she's like, I'm going to try to remember your face. And she's like smoking a cigarette, which I don't like that we're making like smoking cool again. But Dakota Johnson did make it look damn good.
She did.
And she's like holding the cigarette and she's like outlining his face or whatever.
But I thought it was hotter when she says, when she's like, okay, now do my face. And he just looks at her. And I was like, oh, like the thing is, this was Chris Evans' best acting for sure.
Yeah, I think it was too. Also, I will say it's like implausible to believe that. So he's 37. He's been trying to be an actor for years. I'm like, someone who looks like you.
Yeah, you would
be fine.
You'd be fine. You'd be in a Marvel movie.
You
by
would
now.
be a Chris Evans.
You'd be playing Captain America.
Yeah. When he's like, I'm doing like these shitty off-Broadway things. And I was like, no, you wouldn't, honey. Look at that face. And also,
I thought it was interesting that she gave him that story, like that like I forgot that he was an actor on the side. He didn't really have enough charisma for that. Do you know what I mean?
It also was just like, and I was reading this thing where I think like Celine Song put that in maybe because she's worked with like a lot of like up and coming like struggling like actors and playwrights and
which
stuff.
makes sense, but he didn't really fit the vibe of that.
Yeah.
He didn't fit that mold. He felt more like salt of the earth type guy.
Yeah.
Like he didn't seem like a struggling actor.
So I'm curious because I've been like in the reviews and stuff, people were saying like the casting was off. And I'm curious your thoughts on that.
I mean, I think I remember when the cast was first announced, I was like, oh, interesting. Because I have thoughts about Dakota Johnson. Like, I don't really think she's a phenomenal actor.
Yeah.
But I really thought she was good in this movie. I thought, like, once I saw the movie, I felt like it was all good.
Yeah.
And I actually did think her, like, they all had good chemistry. Like, she had good chemistry with Pedro Pascal. And I really was not expecting myself to think this, but while she had good chemistry with Pedro Pascal, I actually thought she had better chemistry with Chris Evans.
Really? I just didn't see it between her and Chris Evans. And that's where, like, I think Dakota Johnson is a good actress, almost when she's, like, playing herself, when she's kind of playing, like, this cool girl,
like, cool,
whatever.
Yeah.
But there's parts where she's, like, crying and she's upset about stuff, and I'm kind of just like, it's not the best acting.
No,
like, it's
she's
not
definitely
horrible.
She, to me, I always say this, but she's like the definition of a nepo baby to me. Where I'm like, you wouldn't be in where you are if it weren't for your parents being in the industry.
And I want to clarify, I am obsessed.
No, I
with
love
her.
Dakota Johnson, but I also just don't think, like, somebody was asking. I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and they were like, "What is she known for?" And I was like, kind of shitty stuff. Like she was in 50 Shades and then Madam Web. Like
she was in this movie called How to Be Single that the book was so good. I read it in college and then the movie was like, what's going on here? Rebel Wilson was in it.
She was in a movie called Peanut Butter Falcon and that movie's kind of cute. That had Shia LaBeouf in it, but it's cute. And I remember her in that. I mean, again, her acting wasn't like phenomenal, but you know, I think she can be in good things. There's this other show. It starts with an S, where it's like this weird show. I want to say it's like Superbia or something like. What is it?
Suburbia?
No, I'd have to look it up later. It's like an artsy weird show. I think on Amazon Prime.
I was also gonna say she always reminds me of this actress.
Hold on, I'm gonna show you.
Ashley Rickards is who I'm talking about. She was in some MTV show that I watched like 20 years ago, but I can't remember what it was. But
this is who I always think she looks like, this actress.
What?
Her forehead. You don't think so?
I've just never seen Dakota Johnson without bangs.
Look, in that photo, you don't think she looks like her?
No. I think she really looks like this actress.
Hold on. Keep that in mind. You've never seen her without bangs?
No.
Okay, then you're about to
I have seen her recently where people were talking about like, oh my God, her forehead.
Doesn't she look like her now?
No. No
yes,
offense.
she does.
I don't
Alexa,
think, I
look
can't
at that.
See it. I can't see it. Maybe a little bit. Okay, yeah, just like the forehead.
I got you.
What were we talking about? Oh, I love Dakota Johnson. Like, and I don't care if she's a good actress. I want to watch her face.
So we said this in the beginning of the movie, when we were watching it. Like, the way that she would speak. So the whole thing the reason that Celine Song, she wrote this movie, right? Mm-hmm. And directed. So she wrote the movie based on her experience as a matchmaker.
Yeah, she spent 6 months as a matchmaker in New York City.
Which is like kind of wild. Like, how do you even get into that position?
And the thing is, I'm like, she must have really hated that job because she was absolutely roasting people in the way they were like conveying themselves to matchmakers.
So the interesting thing is like, one thing she said about the movie is that people are more honest with their matchmaker than with their therapist because they're so desperate to find love that they'll just like, at that point, they're just going to put it all out there.
Yeah. And
so you really see that in this movie is that in the beginning of the movie, Dakota Johnson, she loves what she does. She's really good at what she does too. Yeah. She's had like successful, they base like their successes on like how many of their clients get married. So if they have like 9 weddings or whatever, they like... Yeah.
Which I'm also wondering, I'm like, I wonder if you're contractually obligated to invite your matchmaker to your wedding.
I know, but no, I think what that was they became close with her. Yeah. Like we'll get into this character later, but Zoe Winter's character says like, I consider you like a good friend.
Yeah.
And so Dakota Johnson, is like super comforting. Like when she's talking, it's she has that voice. Yeah. She has like a really, really.
She would make a good therapist.
She'd be great at ASMR. First of all, I could like fall asleep to her voice.
I feel like she's just always on like some CBD stuff. You know, like she's probably just chill.
She is, but I think like so when people are talking to her, they're obviously like real. Like if a date didn't go well, they're really upset, and the way that she talks to them was just like really comforting. So I felt like she was really good in this role.
Yeah. But I think also like what you were saying about like people talk to their matchmakers like they do better than their therapist. There was one line it really struck me. She's like, you know, it's like after, and we'll get into why, but she's kind of like over her job, and she's like, you know, people wouldn't say to their therapist like no blacks and no fatties, but that's what they say to me. What am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so true.
Yeah. You have to like really put all your thoughts out there.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like there was Celine Song like posted all these like influences from the movie, like, or that influenced the movie, and one of them was like the When Harry Met Sally. I was like, oh, I could see that because When Harry Met Sally, you haven't seen it, right? They do a bunch of things about like where it's like an individual shot of people talking about like what it's like dating like in New York or whatever.
I've seen that.
And they do that in this movie where it's like individual clients where they're talking about like, this is my list of like non-negotiables. This is what I want. And I think I deserve it because I'm a catch, you know? And I could see that. It's interesting.
But I mean, you kind of would have to do that because you're, you know, like, again, you're in a position where you need to find somebody. So you do kind of have to be upfront of like, but then she does tell them, she's like, you need to be a little bit less choosy. Like you need to be more open-minded or whatever.
Which I feel like is advice for like, honestly, anyone who's dating right now. Like, there's a difference between like, it's not settling, but also like not like just realizing like people are going to be people. So you have to be able to put up with some flaws.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that was very like true to form. I think like overall I did really like this movie, but I did think like there was some stuff where I was like, this was interesting.
I thought I really liked it, and the thing is I went into this movie, as you know, I am not a romance movie person. I'm not a rom-com person. It definitely wasn't a rom-com, but I'm really not a big romance person. So a huge thing of this was the cast for me. Obviously, I'm a huge, like, I love Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, you're a big cast person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely makes a movie for me.
Yeah.
But I thought the acting in it was good.
I feel like sometimes when you go see a movie and it's a cast you like, it's almost like when you go see your friends in like a play that they're in.
Yeah,
like when you're in high school.
But I'm like kind of nervous for them.
Yeah, you're like so excited for them. You're like, I want to support you.
That's so true. You know who really stood out to me, and I said this to you guys after the movie, but what really stood out, or who really stood out to me in this movie that I don't think is like talked about a lot is Zoe Winters.
Yes.
Who, if you don't know, she was, I think, I've only seen her really in Succession. She played,
and I honestly didn't recognize her.
She played Logan's assistant in Succession.
In Succession, she had
straight bangs,
and in this one she didn't. But I was like, damn, I recognize that mouth. what
she
is
does
that?
have a very
and I don't
distinct
mean that in
mouth.
like an inappropriate way where thank you. I was just like I was like I recognize something about her, and then when you said that I was like, oh, okay.
But her acting always really stands out to me because when she was in Succession, I thought she didn't really have like a ton of scenes until the last season.
Yeah.
And spoiler for Succession, like if you haven't seen it. But when Logan dies, she has like a scene where she's kind of in shock. And I remember thinking her acting in that scene was so good because it was just like a really good portrayal of shock. Like she was kind of laughing and like smiling or whatever. And in this movie, she has like a lot of pretty emotional scenes. And I was like, wow, her, like, I don't think she's going to be talked about a lot because like obviously the focus is on the three main actors, but like, she needs to be in more things or, like, she needs to be recognized more.
I think she will be.
Yeah.
And to give background, like, so her character is kind of like Dakota Johnson's, like, hardest client right now. And she's like, the thing is she's not above average. She's just average. Like, she's nice. She makes an average income. She's, like, not too, like, crazy young. She's, like, I think 37, I think they said, or 39. And she was like, she's just nice, like, average all around. And it's like, that doesn't do well on, she loves calling it the market, like the marriage market type of thing. And it's interesting, so this is a huge spoiler, but kind of one of the twists or turning points of the movie is that Lucy, Dakota Johnson's character, sets her up on a date with this guy, and this is, I should give a trigger warning for sexual harassment, but he follows Zoe Winter's character into the bathroom on their date and sexually assaults her. And then Zoe Winter's character starts suing the matchmaking company for like setting her up with him. And she's like, you didn't know, like, you don't know anything about these people. You think you do. You have a list of things, but you don't know them.
Yeah. And it was really emotional because she's really burned, like, obviously by what happened, but also just, like, by Dakota Johnson doing that to her because she was like, I really considered you a friend, too.
Yeah.
And Dakota Johnson's obviously, like, it made me really emotional to see, like, how, like, obviously, because her acting was really good, but then Dakota Johnson cared so much. Like, she was so upset by it. She wants to quit. She's now, like, done with the job because she's just, like, now she's questioning things about love, but also just, like, she was really, she felt so guilty for doing that to her.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because, like, I don't think Dakota Johnson did a bad job, but I didn't feel, like, fully convinced that she cared as much as she was like seeming like she cared. Like, it just felt like Dakota Johnson acting these emotions sometimes. And also, I will say this, like, there were certain scenes where, like, the caveman scene, it opens in the beginning where it's just like, this is the history of marriage, and it's a caveman like tying a flower around a cave woman's finger. I was like, they didn't have marriage then, but okay.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was like,
I kind of liked it, actually. I liked the, like, silence of the beginning. It felt, like, kind of jarring. Like, I wasn't expecting that opening. And it was how it ended, too. It was very, like, whatever. Like, it wasn't, like, overly artistic or anything. But I thought it was kind of, like, interesting. It just felt different than any other romance I've seen.
Yeah, I could see that. But the second thing I was going to say is, like, so at the end, it's, again, huge spoiler for the movie, but, like, Dakota Johnson and Chris Evans get together, and they're, like, having this moment on Zoe Winters' stoop after she's called Dakota Johnson because the guy is, like, harassing her at her apartment, and they're just, like, deciding to, like, fall in love and get together.
And imagine being Zoe Winters' character and just, like, looking out the window and be like, okay, well, cool.
Yeah,
like, I'm in here,
you have that.
I'm in here, like, hiding for my life right now.
Yeah.
But also, we didn't talk about the other plot twist of the movie, which was, and again, these are, well, if you're here now, you obviously watched it or don't care. But
so wait, let's dive into her and Pedro's relationship first.
Okay.
So Pedro Pascal's character, as we said, like, they go on dates. Like, he very much is giving her this life that she thinks she wants, where she's like, when they first go back to his apartment, I actually thought this was one of the hottest scenes. Like, the way he, like, picks her up and, like, kind of dangling her when he's, like, carrying her and kissing her. I was like, ah!
Yeah.
I love seeing her, like, little feet dangle. But, he's like, yeah, she's like, how much is your apartment? He was like, $12 million. And you can tell that she's very much, like, in love with his apartment. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, like, people say there's not a lot of chemistry between them. And you kind of find out that is, like, on purpose, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like,
because I really didn't think there was I know, like, I've seen a lot of interviews with them, like, for this press tour, which I just like to do. Because they have really cute interviews where, like, she and Chris Evans, have really cute interviews. They actually had like a more like I think Dakota Johnson and Pedro Pascal are actually friends in real life. Like they're apparently like really good friends. And so I just kind of got that from the movie. Like I was like, I don't see them as like a romantic relationship. And I feel that way kind of for several reasons, but I just think, like, I didn't really see a ton of chemistry between them.
See, here's what I think is I saw a lot of chemistry. Like, I thought, like, when they were on their date in that, like, darkly lit restaurant or whatever, I was like, oh, okay, there's a lot of chemistry, but I didn't feel a lot of connection. And I think it, like, really, like, the moment I was like, okay, this is not, like, her guy was when she found out about Zoe Winter's character getting sexually assaulted, and the person she called was her ex-boyfriend, not her current boyfriend. And I was like, that's a huge sign that, like, if you can't tell the person you're dating about this, that, like, you're not, like, actually, they're not there to support you and vice versa. No, that's
so true. And I actually, the thing that's interesting about that was, like, I was saying this before, like, they were both gentlemen in different ways. Like, I feel like Pedro Pascal was definitely a gentleman. Like, he paid for everything. He was very, like, he was just, like, a nice person and a good person, but he was also just very, like lavished you with gifts. And, like, he was, like, a gentleman that way. But I felt like Chris Evans was also a gentleman. He was a little bitter sometimes, but, like, he was so, I felt like in that moment when she called him, I thought that scene was, like, I was like, oh, like, he was just really, I feel like he really cared about her.
Yeah, he was more emotionally vulnerable. Like, he was both a gentleman and a person. Yeah, you know what I mean?
True. And
gentleman and an officer and a gentleman.
So she realizes she and Pedro Pascal are, like, in bed together one night, or actually it's like before they go to bed, she notices they're going on a trip together. Like, he's taking her on some big trip that she's like, oh, you know, like, trips that she could, like, only dream of going on. He's, like, taking her on these trips. And she looks in his suitcase and she sees a ring in there. So she's like, okay, he's going to, like, propose to me.
Which is kind of crazy because they don't really give, like, a set timeline. But I'm like, it feels fast.
But they seemed like they just, like, were happy. It almost seemed like they both were just really looking for just somebody to settle down with at that point. Yeah. Like, same for him. And so she's, like, obviously up all night, like, just thinking about it. And she notices that on his legs there's, like, kind of, like, strange, like, bruises or something.
Yeah, scars.
And she's like, touches them, he wakes up, he storms off, he gets all mad, and he basically reveals that he had height surgery.
Which I meant to look this up. Do you think that's real?
My mom told me it is. She just sent me an article. Hold on, I'll tell you what people are paying for this surgery. In the movie they said
they were paying like $200,000. So basically it's a surgery where they break.
It is. It's a $200,000 height enhancing surgery. It's real and it's more common than you might think.
Yeah, and they were basically saying like that you have to break your legs and then it's like the way they re-heal or whatever. And he explains, I think this was actually a good shot, even though it gave me the ick a little bit, where he was like, yeah, like how I grew by 6 inches and then he like shrinks down, like bends his knees to be at the height. But the thing with that, as I was saying to you after the movie, I was like, if you got height surgery but nothing else is growing, I'm like Pedro Pascal doesn't have the build of someone who's 6 inches shorter. Like, that would just look so strange.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, short kings can also be really muscular or whatever. So maybe that's like.
But it's not even like the muscles. It's like the length of your arms, you know, or like this, like.
That's true.
Just like your proportions. Yeah. What if your arms are like really short?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Like, it would just be strange. But also, it made me think of, so recently, I think it was Tinder. They like have this thing, if it's on like the premium plan, where like men have to disclose their height, and men were getting so upset about it because I guess it's a very real thing. Like, you know, Pedro Pascal explains, he's like, everyone, like, you wouldn't have talked to me.
You get treated differently, yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I absolutely wouldn't have talked to you if you were 5'5". No offense to the short kings out there, but I was just like, but then men got upset.
I never think about Pedro Pascal and I'm like, his height. Like, I'm never, but probably just the whole package is like.
Yeah. But then it's interesting because men got upset when like Tinder like introduced this, and they were like, well, we should have like a weight thing. Like, and I don't know why, but I guess like it's like the same, but it's not, because one, I feel like men don't understand like a woman's weight. They would be like 5'5", like 100 pounds. Yeah. That seems fine, you know, or whatever. And two, it's kind of like men realizing that they're getting, like, women have the power to be choosy now, you know, like, and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna physically like objectify you as well. I don't want you don't want me to be over a certain weight. I don't want you to be under a certain height.
No, it's true. The thing is, I think, but I thought the thing is, I don't think being short is like like a turnoff. Like, I don't
Yeah.
feel that way, but something about Pedro revealing that in the movie gave me such an ick. Like,
I think it's when he scrouches
it was
down.
when he bent down, but also just in general, the fact that I was like, that he had the surgery kind of was like, ugh. Like, I don't know.
It's almost like weirder that he had the surgery.
That's how I felt. Like, and then when he knelt down, I couldn't. I was just like, oh my God.
Also, I will say, like, I don't know, like Chris isn't that tall, but he's taller than me, and that's all I really care about. I just like to feel small.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I could see that. But also, like, for men, it is a very real thing. He was like, people didn't treat me the same when I did business interactions or when I did anything. I mean, look at Napoleon. He, like, started a whole war.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I can't grow, so I might as well kill people. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's historically accurate, but, you know. And I just think that that's interesting. And that's also, like, when she decides, like, who she's going to be with.
And that's not the reason, because she was
Yeah.
already kind of, like, questioning it. And she said to him, like, she was just like, this isn't working or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't, like, what you need and whatever.
And he says, he's like, I've never been in love with someone. I don't know what it feels like. And she's like, but you will. And he's like, which also, I was like, I don't know. You're, like, in your, 50s?
Yeah.
You've never been in love with someone?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Especially, like, again, I guess it explains, like, his height is. But here's my question. Did he have to move to a whole new state, like, when he did his height surgery? Because people would surely be like, oh, you're taller now.
Yeah. That's a great question.
I was just wondering that.
Maybe it's the same way as when anyone gets any plastic surgery done. You know what I mean?
The height just seems kind of wild, though. I don't know.
I guess.
It's not that wild, but for some reason that it did give me the ick a little bit.
Yeah.
And I still love you, Pedro, but it was just a weird plot twist. I was kind of like, that's what we're going. Because you know what I think it was it sort of took me out. It was almost comical. Like, but I don't think it was supposed to be funny, but it felt like everybody in our theater laughed when
I think
he, like,
it was
bent
supposed
down.
to be funny.
Yeah, but, like, that doesn't fit into the story.
I think there were some,
not
like,
a funny movie.
There were some, like, low-key funny moments, I think.
But I
like,
just
when
felt
people
like
were
that
talking
felt
about, like,
kind of ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And also, so it's also, like, not in the height moment, but, like, when they're talking about love and Dakota Johnson's like, love is easy. Like, it's supposed to be easy. And then she's talking to Zoe Winters after, like, this guy was stalking her. And Zoe Winters like, I just want a guy, like, to just love me, to just, like, want to, like, spend time with me. And, like, she's like, I'm not really asking for anything crazy. She's like, I honestly don't care how much money he makes. I just want to, like, someone to just enjoy being around me. And that's when she kind of is like, oh, I love John.
Yeah. But so the thing with that is, like, this is at the end of the movie. So she ends up with Chris Evans, John.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that's great. I think they were happy together. They go on this, like, road trip together, whatever. And they reconnect, and you can see that there just is a love there.
Yeah.
And they wanted to be together. It was just the money thing. So, but again, they are in their, like, late 30s at this point. Or
I think she's supposed to be 32.
She might be in her early 30s. But, like, it's not that wild for her to want these things, you know?
Yeah.
It's, like, it's understandable that she would want her almost 40-year-old boyfriend husband to, like, be in a better financial situation.
Yeah.
And so now they're together at the end of the movie, and the whole thing, and it's why it's called The Materialists, and they show, like, the cavemen and stuff, is because it's, like, material things just aren't, you know, like, they love each other, and that's, like, what matters. But she's about to quit her job as a matchmaker.
Yeah.
When by the way, her husband is still, John is, like, still now, he's not in, like, a better financial situation. And she's about to quit her job, and then her boss tells her, like, well, I was about to promote you because I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, maybe not going to take it. And she's like, take the promotion. And it ends like you don't know whether Dakota Johnson takes it or not. But I'm like, I hope you did.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Nothing has changed about their situation 5 years ago when they were together versus now. And I think the point of the movie is supposed to be like, oh, choose love, not money. But the thing is,
money is the biggest like source of unhappiness for couples.
Yeah, it's just like, you can love each other as much as you want, but if I can't pay to park my car, that's going to cause stress.
Yeah.
And it's not saying, like, you shouldn't marry for money, but you also, like, do have to take that into consideration. I also think it's slightly implausible. Like, I think this movie would have been better and maybe a little bit more realistic if she had chosen Pedro Pascal in the end. Where it's like, yeah, I love you, but also it is very much like a stereotypical, almost like she, I think, pulled a lot of inspiration from, like, Edith Wharton type of things, where it's like, she explains, like, marriage is kind of like a, not like it is a contract, literally, but like a, like you're going into business together. And like, while that doesn't sound very romantic, on a certain level, it is true. Like, you are in the business of building a life together, and if you don't have the foundation to build that, which it should be love and friendship, and also some sort of financial stability needs to be in there.
Well, because the whole thing is, like, the husband, and it shouldn't just be the husband, it should also go for the wife, but, like, the husband is supposed to provide for you, like, that they make that promise, and, like, I think, like, I feel like you should want to, like, do that for your wife or, you know, and your partner. Like, you should want to be able to afford these things and have, like, because, again, it's not the most important thing, but it really is, like, a huge source of, I think it's, like, the number one cause for divorces, and maybe the number one, but it's one of the top reasons for divorce is money.
Yeah.
So it's, like, I was kind of stressed at the end a little bit of like, okay, well, I hope she took that promotion.
Yeah.
Because she needs it.
Yeah.
Like, they're not in the situation to be, like, quitting their jobs.
Right. And actually, so I was listening to this podcast and it made me think of you because they were saying, like, you know, Dakota Johnson says this line where she's like, honestly, it works if they're from, like, a similar, like, family, socioeconomic background, like, community background. And the guy was like, yeah, I mean, my wife and I went to high school together. And it made me think of you and Matthew, where it's like, yeah, like, you work because you love each other and you have similar personalities, but also, like, you have similar, like, backgrounds and goals and, like, the same, like, you know what I mean? Where it's not like, oh, like, if Matthew was, like, a billionaire, like, that would be great, but it also would be kind of, like, a weird dynamic in your relationship, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's interesting because, like, maybe Dakota Johnson and Pedro Pascal wouldn't have worked because they were from two different backgrounds, but also, like, it didn't feel like, Chris Evans' character, like, had the same, like, financial goals or background that she had. Also,
right, because she was a hustler. Like, she didn't make a lot of money, but she kind of acted and carried herself as if she did make a lot of money. I was surprised she didn't make, I forgot how much she said.
$80,000 a year in New York City, living by herself, wearing, like, it looked like fucking Chanel.
And she also worked at, it seemed like an elite company.
Yeah, I was like, you should take that promotion. Or work somewhere else. Like, get a different, like, company. And so I think, like, and they were talking about, like, having kids, and I'm like, that's when it really, like, it's fun to be young, broken, in love, but then you have a baby to care for, and it's like, yeah. So I think, like, ultimately, it's like they're gonna be happy, but they're gonna, like...
I feel like what we didn't see is them fighting, like, right after that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I liked it. I loved her outfits in it. I loved the vibe of it. It was very similar. You haven't seen Past Lives. I actually do think you would like it. But it's very similar, like, the pacing. It seemed rather
boring to me. Like, it did seem like and this might be where it's like, oh, the cast really is what made the Materialists. Because it felt like because the Materialists had similar, like, dialogue kind of pacing. But it just, whenever I saw, like, scenes from Past Lives, I was just like, this looks kind of boring.
I guess it could seem like that because I would say it's very similar pacing to the Materialists. Yeah. But it almost feels like you're very, like, not enraptured, but, like, enthralled the whole time. Yeah. By, like, this almost, like, calm pacing in a weird way. It's hard to explain.
I also felt like the wedding was the most realistic depiction of a wedding I've ever seen in a movie.
They did, it was like the millionaire's wedding or whatever, and they're just, like, dancing to Sweet Caroline like us poor people do, you know what I mean?
It just felt really us realistic.
We're all just dancing to Sweet Caroline. Yeah. That's the real Equalizer.
Yeah, they even did the, like, so good. Like, it just felt really real. I was like, wow.
I was in my seat. I was like, so good. Yeah. So good. I've done this.
But I really liked it. I was touched by it. I think there are some, like, we went over, like, there's a few, like, just questionable decisions in the movie, but I think overall I did really like it. And I'm not a romance person, so.
Yeah. I like the idea that it was trying to get across, like, it's the Materialists, like, love shouldn't be about material things, but also, like, understanding that sometimes it is. Also, I want to say the soundtrack was very good.
I was about to say the song at the end I really liked. My baby.
Yeah. I listened to it after I dropped you off. I listened to it on the 7-minute drive to my house.
You do like to listen to soundtracks on your way home from movies.
I will say the first thing that ever got me into, like, a soundtrack was Gossip Girl. And I'm not kidding. Really? Their music slapped. They were, like, the peak indie music of 2006 to 2000 whenever. Like, every single time, like, what's the, like, Young Folks? I literally was like, ran up. I was like, Dad, get off the computer. I need to look up this song.
I
downloaded it on LimeWire immediately.
I came out of the womb listening to soundtracks.
Yeah, I love a good soundtrack. I love a good vibe. And it's important. Like, have you ever seen those things where it's like they show you a scene without the music and you're like, oh, I don't know. So
I always think that because I'm like, how did they film scenes when, like, you know, a song can really make a show or a movie, and I'm like, how did they film it without that?
What makes me laugh is, like, you know how we saw Pride and Prejudice or like any of those songs where they're doing like the period piece dances and they're like, we don't know what song it is, they're just like playing music.
Yeah, the first time I learned that was I was watching like bloopers from Parks and Rec, which are arguably like sometimes funnier than the show itself. Like, I love watching like The Office or Parks and Rec bloopers. But there's like a scene where they're in a club and they're dancing and there's no music playing, which makes sense because like they can't play music because they're talking, so it would mess up with but like they're like just literally dancing to nothing and they're all just like laughing because it feels so awkward.
Yes, I'm sure. Also, bring back bloopers. What happened to blooper reels? I love a good blooper reel, except for on the Will Smith music video,
about to bring that up,
which we'll talk about in a little bit.
I think my number one job, like I would love to have, is being a music supervisor for movies.
I could see that.
Like, interesting. There's so many times where I hear a song, like when I'm just like a 50s song, and I'm like, that would go perfectly in
like
something.
Every movie is ABBA. You're just like,
no, you don't understand my vibe.
What?
I'll hear like a 50s song that's like happy, but I'm like, I'm putting that in a scary movie right now.
Which, like, so I'm in the middle of watching Love Island, and I am, like, really over some of the... I love Love Island now. Like, I'm really into it.
I'm a mommy.
Mamacita?
Why did she say it like that?
She's so annoying. We're gonna have to do, like, an episode on Love Island once it's over, but God, she is... Oh... But anyways, like, there was one point where they were just like, oh, I like your eyes, and then the song started playing and was like, I see heaven in your eyes, or something like that, or like they did this weird like EDM of like What a Wonderful World when something like sad happened. I was like, where are they getting this music?
What really gets
me, how are you even finding that?
We were talking about it today at work, and I was like, how do the editors like not sleep? Like, how do they turn around this footage
They
so
have
fast?
got to be coked and Celsius up.
Yeah,
that it's like it's happening right now, and I'm gonna see it tomorrow.
That's so crazy to me.
It's so crazy.
But I guess they're not really editing much, well, I guess they do.
I mean, there's 80 plus cameras, I think, in the villa.
Oh, then you have to get footage from all of that.
Yeah.
How are they doing that? That's crazy.
I don't know. And in that Fiji heat.
God.
No, thank you. That feet.
Yeah, because I was like, do they film in Fiji every year or every season, or is it like they find a new tropical place?
I don't know. That's a good question. I've just been asking
curious.
friends of the pod, Liz and Ty, questions. I literally asked them, I was like, when do they eat dinner? I never see them eat dinner. And I learned that apparently the girls and the guys eat dinner separately.
Does somebody cook for them, or do they cook themselves?
I see them cooking breakfast every time, but I don't know if they can make dinner.
Oh yeah, I heard about that pancake or whatever, like, or just like something like.
I heard about that pancake.
Well, anyways, our
question of the week.
Question of the week. Yes, I can speak. Thank you.
Sorry, I was trying to say it at the same time as you.
Sometimes I feel like a baby, and Alexa's like, "Yeah, question of the week."
Oh no, I'm trying to be helpful. Which also, if you follow us on Poppin' In Podcast on Instagram, you can answer our question of the week. We post one every week, and we love to have friends engaging with us. So answer our questions. We know if you see it and you don't reply. So we love you anyways, though.
Our question of the week this week was, who has the best on-screen chemistry? So of any like movie or, you know, whatever, where you're just like, wow, that couple had like really good on-screen chemistry.
This was a tough one for me.
Really? Actually, I realized I don't have an answer. I was so focused on asking others that sometimes I forget to ask myself. But you know who I probably have like a better answer than this, but something I think about a lot as like a couple is well, I always thought Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell had really good chemistry.
I could see that, yeah.
And I mean, that makes sense because they're married in real life. But like in Overboard, like I always like loved, like I always just thought they were like really cute. But I was gonna say too, Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence in Silver Linings Playbook, okay. I always thought was like such good chemistry.
Interesting.
And they were in like 2 other movies together. So I feel like even though I've seen interviews with them in real life and they don't seem to have chemistry in real life necessarily, or I don't know, but I always felt like on screen they did.
Yeah, I could see that. Interesting. This was honestly really tough. I think my 2 answers are going to be, so this one is like so basic, but I love.
I'm sure everyone else, yeah, because we have like multiples of the same answer.
Is it going to be Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling?
No.
Okay, because I remember, like, again, I love The Notebook. I know
Yeah.
everyone says it's the best romance movie of all time, because it is. And,
Yeah.
like, they dated in real life. I think that helped. But also, from Euphoria, Jacob Elordi and, oh, what's her name?
Sydney Sweeney?
No.
Alexa.
Yes?
What's her name?
Demi?
Yeah, what was her name?
Yeah, Alex Demi or something.
It's Alexa.
Oh. Alexa Demi? I feel like they had good chemistry.
Really?
I mean, they hated each other, but that kind of made it hot, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
And Tell Me Lies. They have really good chemistry, and they're dating in real life as well, so it makes sense.
I feel like I have a better answer, and I just can't think of it. Like, I'm going to kick myself later.
Oh, you were just talking about,
there's got to be, like, other ones that I'm just not thinking of.
Yeah, it's hard to think of, because I don't want to, like, Google it, because I don't want to just, like, get answers. It's like I wish I had written these things down as I was watching films.
Yeah. So we got a few answers. We did get multiple Matthew McFadden. How do you say his name?
I don't know. You told me how to.
I panicked for a second because, like, I feel like I said it for, like, so much at one point, and now I'm like, wait, how do I
think
say
it's
his name?
McFadden, because I always said McFadden, but I think you told me one time that it's McFadden.
Now I'm nervous I'm wrong.
Whatever. He's not going to
And
listen, probably.
Keira Knightley.
Okay, so actually, as you were about to say that, I was thinking that in my head, but you know who's actually has better chemistry in that movie, I think, is Jane and Mr. Bingley, and they dated in real life.
And what's interesting is, like, when I watch Pride and Prejudice, I don't really think that the two of them have that much chemistry. And I think that's why I'm just not that like I think the movie is really good, and I love him, but I don't get, like, super, like, over the two of them.
Yeah.
Like, I just never do. You know, I did think of another
I would love
answer.
a sequel. Anyways.
I think Kate Winslet and Leo.
Yeah. They did have good chemistry, yeah.
They have really good chemistry.
Yeah. You could see that.
He would never date her in real life. She is way too old for him. But I think in movies they have good chemistry.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we got a couple of those answers, and then we got Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes.
From Dirty Dancing.
Yeah.
I feel like there's got to be, like, somebody else. And I feel like I want to say somebody from, like, a TV show that I'm just not thinking of that have really good chemistry. And I feel like I just cannot
I don't know.
think. Ooh, I know. I'm surprised no one said this. Paul Mescal and Daisy Edgar Jones.
Molly, I want you to know, as that thought was coming into your head, I thought to myself, I'm surprised she hasn't said normal people. I think we have one brain.
But what's
I think we had that thought into our minds at the same time. I've never even seen the show. I've
never seen the show either.
Yeah, but
I
people
just know
really
that,
love their chemistry.
Because the funny thing about them is, like, there's, like, a weird thing going on between them. I'm like, why don't they just date? Like, they seem to always, he talks about her all the time. In every single interview, Alexa, not even kidding, every single interview he talks about her.
I'm sure they do. Here's actually my real answer.
Okay.
Gordo and Lizzie. From
Yes!
Lizzie McGuire.
In the movie when she falls asleep on his shoulder.
When her first boyfriend breaks up with her and she's like, he's probably going to find someone prettier, funnier, and cooler. No. And he's like, no, he won't, because there's no one prettier, funnier, cooler than you. I cried. As an adult, I watched that 2 years ago and I cried.
No, it's beautiful.
I love them.
Something unrelated, but I had me dying laughing was I just saw a video, and this was wiped from my memory until I saw this video. But you know how, like, in Disney Channel Disney Channel stars used to, like, sing Disney songs for, like, albums, so they'd be like they'd sing, like, Someday My Prince Would Come or whatever. Like, so there was one, this is wild. Hillary and Haley Duff sing We Are Siamese from the Eurythmics. Wait, what's that from? Lady and the Tramp?
Yeah.
And it is the funniest thing because, but they're singing it's like a rock song. So they're like, we are Siamese if you please. And they're like, we are Siamese if you don't please. And everybody, the comments were killing me. Apparently they don't talk anymore. They're, like, not close. And somebody was like, they're sisters.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They're cousins in Lizzie McGuire.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that. Hailey used to sing for Hillary sometimes.
I
So
could
if there's
see that.
ever like songs where it's like suddenly it sounds like a different person, it's Hailey.
That makes sense.
Which I noticed a lot because I used to be obsessed with Hillary Duff. But anyway,
Same.
people in the comments were like, I wonder if this is why they don't talk anymore. someone said Asian queens.
That's funny.
Disney was wild back then.
That's good. I love that.
No, it really made me like I was like crying laughing over it for no reason.
Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna look that up.
I'm gonna show it to you.
It's gonna be like the Simlish videos.
I need to show it. Yeah, I need to show it to you after this. Remind me because they're singing it with such like they're like really singing it too.
I love that. I feel like we sing a lot on this podcast. I'm sorry, you guys.
We do, and I feel like it's like awkward. Sorry. So that was all we had about the Materialists.
That was it. Just 48 minutes.
Actually,
of it,
it's
yeah.
apparently doing. Was that really 48? Sorry. A lot of it was pauses and stuff.
No, you're fine.
But it's doing really well at the box office.
Yeah, it is.
For like an A24 movie, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's I think go see it if you.
It's a beautiful like.
I thought it was
shot
beautiful.
film.
Yeah,
like it's beautiful to watch. I love the office that she works in. She like
again,
went to the
she
bathroom.
should have been making way more money than that.
I was like, whatever. But anyways, I want to talk about another beautiful person, and that is Brienne Howie in Ginny and Georgia. So I don't know if you know this. I know you haven't seen it, but I love Ginny and Georgia.
The two birds.
Yeah, the two birds. I love Ginny and Georgia so much. I've been watching it since it first came out, and it's not like a highbrow great show.
I was gonna say I'm actually really surprised that some of the things you watch, I'm like sometimes surprised you watch them.
Why?
Because they seem more like teen shows. You know what I mean?
I do sometimes love a good teen show.
Do you? Yeah. Not teen Jesus.
But I was about to say, like, the show is interesting because it feels like it's for teens, but it also kind of feels like it's for adults. It feels like it's in a weird, like...
It's kind of a heavy material, right? Like, heavy storyline.
And that is one thing I will say. So, if you don't know, it's about a mother and daughter, and they're, like, always constantly on the run, building a new life for themselves because Georgia, like, may or may not have, like, killed her last husband or the guy she was seeing before that, and she's always, like, kind of, like, stealing money, and she's getting by because she had a child when she was 15 and she had to escape. Like, she lives in this awful home with a dad who's like abusive to her and
oh my gosh,
etc. So she's like trying to provide for her children.
So is it it's not a comedy then?
There's some funny parts to it, but it's also like it's like a weird like bag of mixed tones.
I think
sometimes.
that was what, like, I remember seeing it and being like, oh, this is not what I thought it was. I thought it was like a totally different tone.
And I will say the season is a lot darker. So, and I noticed that because in like every other season, the intro, it's like Ginny and Georgia, and it'll be like ding, like a like happy little whatever intro music. And then suddenly it'd be like about someone, and this is a trigger warning, but like someone being like, yeah, I self-harm. And then it'd be like
ding.
Ginny and Georgia.
Ding.
No sound.
That's like in Peaky Blinders they stopped doing the theme song. You know how they would always play that ding theme song like at the thing? In the last season they stopped doing that. They were like, we mean business now.
Yeah.
Like it's too dark to be doing all that.
Well, it's interesting because sometimes I'm like, I think they didn't know what tone they were going for. Yeah. So they were just like, fun, Ginny and Georgia. But also like murder and
maybe some domestic
Okay, so one thing I will say, I did like this season. At first I was like, I'm kind of bored by it, but then halfway through, so we left off at season 2 where Georgia was getting arrested at her wedding to the mayor for potentially killing her friend's husband who was on life support.
Oh, I thought it was for killing her ex-husband.
That gets brought up during her court date, but what she's arrested for is like her friend's husband has cancer and he's been like quote unquote dying for like a long time. Like he just is like kind of like this sounds bad, but like needs to go.
Yeah.
And so she puts a pillow over his face and kills him, which is just like, you don't need to do that.
Georgia does that?
Yeah.
Why? Okay, if she's already kind of on the run for some like maybe things that maybe she should stay away from stuff like that.
She always thinks she's helping people. She's like, oh, I'd like, basically she's like, it would be a kindness. But it's like.
Maybe you should like not get involved.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so she was marrying the mayor and got arrested at her wedding. That's where we left off at season 2.
Well, then arrest her. Like,
yeah,
she killed somebody.
She's very like anti-hero type of person where you're like, she's kind of a bad person, but you kind of like are rooting for her anyways. But this season, so Ginny is in the longest year of sophomore year that has ever existed. Literally all 3 seasons, they're in sophomore year.
That would suck, because sophomore year was like one of my least favorite years.
Hers too, I'm sure. Like
because her mom went to prison.
Yeah, and the whole thing is like everyone's like, "Oh, your mom murdered someone,"
Yeah.
and she's like, "I'm just trying to be a teen." And
Gotta balance all those things.
I will say, like, the show, like, every teen character, I feel like is dealing with the stereotypical teen problem, and I should give a trigger warning for, like, everything, because I'm about to list it off, but, like, one has, like, is bulimic. Her boyfriend, who's her neighbor, is severely depressed for some reason and is also, like, an alcoholic. Then the like bulimic girl is like, maybe I'm a lesbian, maybe I'm not, I don't know. Then her other friend is a lesbian, but also has like severe OCD and is dealing with that. Then like there's another teen character who thinks that she's pregnant. And then Ginny finds out, again, huge spoiler alert, that she's pregnant because they all go and take a pregnancy test together to be like,
the daughter, Ginny?
Yeah, be supportive. And I think they actually do, again, spoiler, they do the abortion, like, storyline, I think, well, where, like, her mom is like, you know, I had you at 15 and I don't regret it, but it's your decision. So if you have a full life ahead of you, but you also will have a full life if you have a baby. So, like, I think she talks to her about it well. But then there's, like, there's just, like, so much where I'm just like, I was in high school and I don't think I knew people with, like, my friend group of, there's like 7 people, didn't all have like a stereotypical quote unquote teen problem that I think was sometimes annoying, where I was just like,
are the teen actors, like, are they kind of cringe or are they, like, good actors?
I think for the most part, they're actually pretty good. Yeah. Like, some of them are better than the adults. Also, the funny thing is so Ginny and Georgia, also, I don't know why he's not in the title of this.
Oh my gosh, the glasses kid?
Yes.
I've seen that. He's wearing the same glasses. Like, they didn't even, like...
Well, they're not real glasses. It's like he wears them almost as, like, a security blanket. But the issue is, he was, like...
Gross.
He was, like, 9 when they started this show 3 years ago. And now he's apparently... It's the same year, so he's still 9, but he's, like, 15.
Most shows, like, consider that. Why didn't they...
I literally, as soon as I was like, that is, and he got, like, they did these awards at, like, the premiere where it was, like, each actor, like, got, like, a fake award from, I think it was, like, Vanity Fair or something, and, like, the guy who plays Austin, it was, like, the oldest 9-year-old to ever exist. He's a 4th grader. He's, like, my height.
That's
and I'm not
crazy.
just, it's not, like, the hormones and the beef. It's, like, he's too grown for this.
All I've seen is just, like, side-by-sides of him as, like, a little kid with glasses, and it's, like, cute, but he's, like, wearing the same glasses as a 15-year-old, and they were like, why didn't they give him different glasses or something? Like, make him at least, like, look a little older.
They, like, don't, and I guess it's hard because, again, he's, like, tall.
It's supposed to be the same year,
He looks like he is about to hit puberty.
Yeah.
Or, like, is already halfway through it, at least, almost. But anyways, so that's very funny to me, and I think, like, they do a good job of building the plot and suspense. I want you to look up some of Georgia's court outfits because I think you would love them. Because she has, like, this Southern Belle way of dressing that's also, like, very modern and chic. Like, I was like, if Molly went to court, this is what she would wear. If Molly murdered someone, this is what she would wear.
I always think this is so, like, weird of me, but something I think about often, and this is, I obviously also think about the speech she gave and just, like, the power that she held in that moment. But I often think back to the U.S. gymnastics, like that whole court trial.
Oh, yeah.
Aly Raisman. She wore this, like, pink blazer when you can't really see it in this photo, but, and her hair was, she just, like, it was just, like, a really, just on top of, like, she gave this, like, really, like, powerful, impactful speech, or testimony, I guess. Plus, she looked great. And I was like, I always think about that blazer. That would be my court outfit. Oh,
like,
wait, it's kind of similar.
Look at, I'm like, you would wear that.
Yeah, I would.
It's
very Elle Woods.
Yeah, it is. But anyways, so, like, this is her, like, she's going to court for, like, getting murder. So that, like, keeps you on your seat. And the thing is, again, like, she's kind of, like, you realize, like, maybe she's a bad person, but you kind of like her. And there's a whole scene where, like, you know, her husband just got elected mayor and now his wife is on trial for murder. So it's, like, really killing his career. So he decides for a while that he's, like, not going to show up to court. And he's like, I don't know. Did you kill someone? I don't know.
Yeah.
And because all the stuff from her past gets brought up. And this is one of the moments where I was like, she's kind of a bad person. Is she takes her daughter's positive pregnancy test, passes it off as her own to be like, we're going to have a child.
It's giving Chicago.
I haven't seen it, but I'm sure.
Roxy pretends to be pregnant so she can get
attention
from the court.
Okay. I believe
for
that.
the public.
Well, she's doing it so that way her mayor husband stands like supports her, because then that looks better like to, you know, to the jury or whatever. And then her like mayor husband finds out, he gets mad and he kind of like slams the wall next to her face. And I think if any other character did that in the show, you'd be like, wow, what, like, he's an abusive guy. And it's supposed to be like Georgia has a history of being with abusive men or whatever, but I'm like, I mean, it's kind of fucked up that you passed off your daughter's pregnancy test as your own. Like, he has a right, I think, not to, he didn't cause her any harm, but like to be as angry as he was, and then he like takes away her lawyer and all of this. And so I think that was really interesting. I'm excited for the next season, but I do think
there's another season.
Yeah, they definitely set it up for another season, and I think like they have the like, what do you call it? Oh, also, one of my favorite podcasts, Giggly Squad, makes an appearance on the show because they're like this girl's listening to a murder podcast, and I literally was like, is that Paige DeSorbo's voice? And I looked it up, and then they talked about it on an episode of Giggly Squad, and they were like, what's funny is they just like called us, they asked, do you want to record this? And we said yeah, and then it came out. We had no idea that it came out. Everyone was texting us about it, and we were like, I don't know, we recorded that 9 months ago.
That's funny.
Yeah, so overall I think it was a slow starting season. Also, I want to bring up, there's a character, his name is Joe, played by Raymond Ablack. I don't know if I'm saying it right. I've been in love with him since he was in Degrassi, The Next Generation. I remember watching that when I was like 12 years old and being like, I love that man. Really? I don't care what his plot is. I don't care about his storyline. He was just so fine to me, and he still is.
Wait, how old is he now?
He's probably in his 30s.
Oh.
I would guess. And he's like buff.
Look at that beard.
I know. I kind of like him better with like a smaller beard, but he's got like a great body,
like
and he
this is your ideal.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Oh, he's so handsome.
It's really rare when I see you get like excited over like.
Literally, I've loved him for 15 years. Aww. Not to sound like a psycho, but he's so handsome.
Love that for you.
So, anyways, I think it was good. Also, Georgia's accent each season, really, she's like, I'm Georgia.
I've heard it.
And I'm like,
it is
nobody talks
kind
like
of
that.
Horrific.
That is clearly a person putting on a fake accent, which she's not. That's not part of the plot. But I'm just like, I don't know who your dialect coach was, but girl, I think she has like the speed down. Like, she does talk like a Southern person in terms of like, the way she talks, but her actual accent is horrific.
You know what gets me? I don't know if this is the case in this show. Like, I don't know if like Ginny has an accent, but it always gets me when like a parent has like a really thick Southern accent and then the kids don't at all. And I'm like it used to bother me on The Walking Dead. It takes place in Atlanta. They all have Southern accents, all of them. Yeah. So both of this kid's parents have thick Southern accents, but the character Carl, who was like the boy on the show, no accent. And it's like, no one could have worked with him on an accent. He obviously would have when he lives in Atlanta. He's grown up around Southern people. His parents are Southern.
What do you think, I'm curious, is the most like difficult American accent to mimic?
Ours, like our whatever this is.
Whatever this
because
is.
If you've noticed, like whenever people imitate an American accent, they always either do New York or like a Southern accent.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, our accent, like, we're very, like, middle region, and I feel like it's not Southern, but it's also not Southern. There's definitely words that I say where I'm like, oh, that came out.
We have, like, some...
That came out real Southern.
But if you're just from, like, a place where they're just, like, we have an accent, but, like, to us, it's just whatever, like you said. Yeah. I think that's the hardest, because I've heard actors do, like, for example, I've heard, like, British actors do Southern accents or do accents from like the Midwest and they sound like great, but then if they try to do just like I don't want to say normal, but like our accent, like
a Midwestern accent, weird. I think is mainly like just much like the Midwest flat.
Yeah, but with a little like I don't know how to explain it, but it's just easier almost to do like a thick accent than there is to just do like a like, we have an accent, but to me, we don't.
Like a reasonable accent, yeah. Like a dash of an accent.
Yeah. I feel like that's hard.
Yeah, I could see that. But anyway, so that's Ginny and Georgia. We talked about this last week, not on the podcast, but privately. I want to get into another woman we love, Mikey Madison, who has finally accepted a role.
What do you mean finally accepted a role? Like, what does that mean?
She's been turning down roles left and right. She turned down
a
role in Star Wars. She turned down, I think it was the leading role in Colleen Hoover's new book, Reminders of Him. She turned down Chronicles of Narnia. She also turned down the Resident Evil reboot.
Wait a minute. Can I say something about Chronicles of Narnia really quick?
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt this. So I did just learn some news about this movie. Okay. That is making more sense to me.
Is it a movie or a series?
I think it's a movie. It's
okay,
and it's not really a reboot. So here's the thing: I think in our heads when we hear Chronicles of Narnia, we're thinking The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah.
But apparently they are. I heard that they're doing The Magician's Nephew.
Oh, I hope so. I love The Magician's Nephew.
I loved that book, and they've never done that before.
I actually don't remember any plot of it anymore because they just skip it.
And there's not that many characters either, so I'm curious. But it makes more sense now because I had heard that it was like Greta Gerwig was making like it was going to be like rock and roll, and that was like what it was. Like it was just like a weird thing, and I was like, oh, this makes more sense now that it's not The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Honestly, that original run of the Chronicles of Narnia used to piss me off because I love The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and then they skipped to like Prince Caspian or something. They just like skipped around. I was like, just go in order. You're really killing the vibe here.
I know.
For the fans.
So she's actually doing a 2-part Narnia film series, and the first part is The Magician's Nephew. So actually, she might still be doing The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Okay.
But
I'm here for it.
I was excited. I was like, oh, that's new. That's different.
Yeah. But Mikey Madison wasn't. He turned it down.
You know who's not going to be in it? Mikey Madison.
So she's finally accepted. So if you don't know, she's 26 years old. She just won the Oscar for Best Actress. She's in like the best, like literally best pickings that you could have. Like people are like, be in my movie.
Yeah.
And so she just accepted a role in this movie called Reptilia. She was going to star alongside Kirsten Dunst. Kirsten Dunst. It's going to be a thriller by Alejandro Landes Echevarria. And just the plot of this, and I'm sure it's going to be good, but it is wild. It follows a dental hygienist seduced by a mysterious mermaid into the dark and wet underworld of Florida's exotic animal trade.
I kind of hate that plot because I'm just
what?
Like, that just sounds so ridiculous. Like, how are they going to, like, what are we doing here?
I just think I'm like, that's an interesting choice for your next film. And maybe I think, like, she's trying to go more, like, art house. And so I was reading this thing where apparently, like, versus maybe like 10 years ago, like the new A-listers are turning down a lot of these like superhero roles or like these reboot things or things where it's like, you know, like Star Wars where like it's going to put you into a long and binding contract. And also it might be like the thing you're known for the most. Like Jacob Elordi turned down Superman. Glenn Powell turned down Jurassic Park. Like he did Twisters 2, but it's not like he's like, oh, and I got to show up for Twisters 3 and 4.
Right.
You know?
I bet they will make a sequel to that.
Right, but I don't think has to be tied to it because like it's not like the same people each time.
I could see him in Jurassic Park though.
I could see him in Jurassic Park.
The thing with Jacob Elordi that is interesting is like I don't think he's I love Jacob Elordi, but I don't think he's like particularly an amazing actor, but I've noticed he has been offered, like he's been in a lot of like he's going to be the Frankenstein's monster and he's in that movie. It hasn't come out yet, I don't think, but he plays a movie where he's in a relationship with another man and like he's just taking interesting roles that you would think he wouldn't take. And so but good on him. Like I'm really happy that he's doing that. But so here's the thing about Star Wars, and I could really get into we could do a whole episode on this. So I'm not going to get into it too much. But the thing about her turning down a Star Wars role, like, yes, that's good. I mean, that's probably the best. I actually think they're making way too much Star Wars content right now, like, and it's ruining the franchise a little bit.
They're making too many like reboot franchise films.
Yeah, and I think part of it, I think just like Disney Plus has just like ruined like we were saying the other day, like it's just they're making way too many Marvel things, way too many Star Wars things.
Yeah.
But I think the thing with Star Wars is I've always said this, like Matthew and I talk about this a lot. If I were a young actor, like a new actor who hasn't been in anything, I would absolutely turn down a role in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because like I think the amount of like death threats and just like shit that they have to put up with is wild.
And because also like here's the thing,
especially like like, especially if you're a person of color, like, you get so much abuse from the Star Wars fans. To me, it's just like, it would not be worth it to be in a Star Wars movie.
And I feel like people, like, they're making so many of these kind of, like, reboot franchise film things, and a lot of them are, like, starting to get hate. Like, look at Snow White, or, like, there's some other ones where it's just like, yeah,
I'm glad.
These aren't getting as good of reviews, because it's like, we just don't need this.
Well, I was, like, pissed that, this is why I was, like, genuinely mad that Lilo and Stitch did so well, because I was like, no! We have to stand up to them.
When we went to the movies on Tuesday, remember we were walking down and I said, let's walk down and you'll see every movie poster is either a reboot, a franchise, or like it's just like a sequel to another movie that came out like 10 years ago. Like, and I think like honestly actors like Jacob Elordi and Mikey Madison and etc., like them choosing these roles is really just keeping like unique cinema alive.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. And also like it used to be, you know, you could make bank on Marvel movies, like you could guarantee that, but also I think it's like, do you want to guarantee you're going to make money, or do you want to guarantee you're going to have a career that you can look back on and be proud of?
And I mean, I don't blame people for doing the former. Like, I think as an actor, I mean, you kind of do have to go with safety sometimes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I think Mikey Madison is such a unique actress. Like, she has an interesting look, and she is like, and I mean, I'm sure, I don't know what the role in Star Wars would have been, so it's kind of hard to like talk about that without that context, because it could have been a good show or movie or whatever. But I do just think like, I'm like, yeah, you should continue doing things that you really care about.
Yeah.
You know?
Because, I mean, I think, like, with the press tours of these big franchise films and the filming, and then it's like you film one, and then it's like, now we got to film the next one. I think, like, it ends up sucking up, like, years and years of people's careers. And even if they love the movie that they're on, I think it really just, like, those contracts, like, pin you in.
It just depends. Like, there's some actors who have really like, I mean, Oscar Isaac and Adam Driver went into Star Wars, and, like, it definitely probably boosted their careers more, especially, like Adam Driver, I feel like became way more famous with Star Wars, but they're both fine now, and they're both obviously working a lot and very big stars. But then you've got like Daisy Ridley, who isn't really getting offered. She was like, she starred in the sequels, and like she is not really getting big offers now. And so I think it just depends. Mikey Madison would be going into a Star Wars role with already the like success behind her, so she might have been okay. Yeah. But I just think overall, I always say if I'm a new actor, like I would literally probably turn down a Star Wars role.
Yeah, and also like again, she's like on top of the world. She can pick and choose what she wants. Like that's one of the things, like, you know, people always talk, oh, I don't see like Elijah Wood or Daniel Radcliffe in a lot of things, and it's like, yeah, they made their bank, and now they're like, I just want to do these weird little things that I like.
Yeah, that's great.
And what a position to be in.
And it's also a great position to be working with Kirsten Dunst. Like, that's such a dream.
Yeah, exactly. But moving into our next topic, another heavy hitter in Hollywood, we should give a trigger warning for, in terms of sexual assault and sexual harassment. But this week, it was announced that Tyler Perry has been accused of sexual assault from Derek Dixon, who was an actor who worked on one of his TV shows. I think it was in 2019. He worked on the show The Oval. And so basically Derek Dixon...
And Tyler Perry's being sued for $260 million.
Yeah. And I don't know why I put in here also it's $194 million in pounds.
We don't, I don't know if we need to know that, but
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, in case you were wondering. But basically, so we filed a lawsuit accusing Tyler Perry of using his influence in the entertainment industry to create a coercive, sexually exploitative dynamic while he was working on these shows with him. And he says that Tyler Perry had promised him a thriving career, but then subjected him to sexual harassment, which escalated to assault and battery when he didn't return Perry's unwanted advances. And so I just think it's interesting, like they get like they mention some of the details, like he alleges that Tyler Perry would interrogate him over his sexual interests, and then there was a time where Tyler Perry, he allegedly pinned Dixon to a wall and fondled him. However, Tyler Perry's lawyer is saying that this is all a scam just to make money.
Yeah, and I read some of the texts between them, and it's, I mean, I can't even remember exactly what the text said now, but it was definitely like him like talking about... like, it was actually Tyler Perry saying things like, you know, when I'm on set, I'm not going to be able, we need to, like, pretend like this isn't happening, and, like, I need to talk to you, like, you know, yeah, like, I might not be able to treat you the same, like, on set or whatever. And so it was interesting. I feel like I don't have a lot to say on this because, like, it's all just alleged right now. It just happened.
Also, those texts make me think, like, well, what was happening not on set? You know?
I can't, and I briefly read them, so I can't even really remember the exact context.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just, I think it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I just think, like, you know, it's just, we talk about this all the time. Like, Hollywood just seems like a rough place to be. And I feel like there's so much power, like, not even just in the amount of money that people have, but the amount of influence. And so whether this is true or not, I think it's just a story that we see that is played out in Hollywood over and over again. And I think, like, exposing these people again, whether it's true or not, or in general, is good, like, to actually eventually hopefully make a change. But it's interesting because, you know, you watch these things and you love them, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. It's kind of like when you watch, like, Hitchcock movies and you learn all the stuff that he did, and you're just like, oh, I kind of don't see this the same anymore.
Did you watch Tyler Perry's stuff?
I did when I was younger, like when I lived at home with my family and it would be on, like, TBS and stuff.
Yeah.
Very funny. But I mean, I haven't watched anything from him in a long time. He just came out with that movie Straw, which I think, was it your mom?
I think it's Megan's mom.
Oh yeah, said that they really loved. But I didn't watch it. I wasn't, like, enthralled by it.
Yeah.
There's some stuff by him that I'm like, I really loved, and there's some stuff where I was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
As with any, like, creator, I think there's good stuff and then there's throwaways. But anyways, that's all we have on that. Like, it just broke, like, earlier this week. So I don't know what's gonna go on there, but we'll hopefully stay informed on the situation and let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On to another topic that's a little more lighthearted, I guess.
For us, maybe not for Will Smith.
Yes. So
for us, pretty girls.
Will Smith just released a new song called Pretty Girls.
Yeah.
And we actually just watched the music video like 5 minutes before recording this.
And made Molly watch it with me. I was like, I want to experience this together.
Yes. And it's just, I don't really have much to say other than it's just like a very Will Smith thing.
What is he trying to do? So if you don't know, like, this is his first song. He's 56 years old. This is his first song in 20 years.
And you could tell he was 56 in this music video.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
But it's like, and again, it's like we talked about, I think sometimes people get stuck in the age that they get famous in, where it's just like, he doesn't think that he thinks he's the classic dad who thinks he's cooler than he is.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work.
But it was weird because it was like like, it was supposed to be funny.
It was, but it wasn't funny. It's funny to us in a way that I don't think Will Smith was intending it to be funny. And so the whole song, it, like, starts out with him being in, like, a therapist's office. I literally said, was this the therapist from The Sopranos? Like, the hottest therapist you've ever seen. And he's just like, I've had a problem ever since I was little. Like, I've always had this problem. And then suddenly, like, we're in his head in the music video, and he's just talking about how much he loves pretty girls. And literally, like, the lyrics are so bad. I wrote down one of them.
By the way, it's a weird thing to be like, you're into pretty girls. It's like, yeah, isn't
every
everyone guy?
And also, it's weird to, like, you're 56 years old, you should be into beautiful women. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
It did feel very juvenile, and you're right, it felt very like a 56-year-old having, like, a crisis, like he's stuck in his, like,
yeah.
And maybe that was on purpose, like it was supposed to be like you're watching an old, like, Will Smith. It felt just like very, like, classic Will Smith. Like,
I just don't know what he's trying to do with his career by coming out with this. And, like, again, so I wrote down one of the lyrics. It was vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, lemon. All right, fuck it, I like women. What? Like, I think we are past a point societally wise where we're, like, naming women by flavors. I think, like,
but he doesn't know that.
Yeah, he doesn't.
But is no one telling him? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who?
Like, you could tell, like, because they did, again, we mentioned blooper reels earlier. Like, you could tell in the bloopers he was like, this is going to be good. This is going to hit.
And the blooper reel wasn't funny.
Yeah, he was, like, him making, like, faces in the camera. I was like, yeah, I watched The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I know you can make a face, you know?
Yeah. The dancers couldn't have been less into this music video.
They weren't even in sync most of the time.
They did not care.
And also the outfits, like, it just felt like something that would have come out maybe in 2010. And even then, it would have come out, it would have been, like, a blip on MTV, and then, like, it wouldn't, like, and the thing is, I was saying, like, there's certain parts where the beat, I was like, okay, I'm kind of feeling the beat a little bit, but, like, him rapping over it, I was like, I'm just not getting anything from this. It's so weird. It's like him, it's an all-white background, and then, like, just these women dancing in these, like, they're wearing, like, I don't know if it's a bikini or
even
underwear.
their outfits were really outdated.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I did wear that in 2012. You know what I mean? It was just weird.
I think he peaked at Fresh Prince.
I don't think he peaked at Fresh. He won an Oscar.
I genuinely think he peaked at Fresh Prince. And I mean that in a compliment. I think he was so good in Fresh Prince. I don't think... Like, when I go back and watch it, I'm like, he was so funny on that show.
He was, but I mean, like, King Richard was amazing. And then, like, The Pursuit of Happiness was phenomenal.
I don't think
Hitch?
Wait, can I say something?
Yeah, sorry.
I actually don't think he's that good of an actor.
Really?
But here's the thing that I'm going to say. I think he's really funny. Like, I think he's a funny actor. I think he's good at comedy. And I think he's really charismatic in a way that he can lead, like, a sitcom.
Yeah.
So I think, like, that's why I say, like, I think he peaked then. Because I think that's, to me, like, I don't think he could top that. I really don't think his act... And this is me personally. I know people disagree. Because Pursuit of Happiness, people love that movie. But, like...
Yeah.
I didn't really... I just felt like his acting wasn't, like, that phenomenal in it.
Here's my thing. I think he was a good comedic actor. I don't think if he did comedy now, I don't think... And it's kind of the same thing. I think it happens to, like, a lot of comedic...
That's why I said he peaked then.
Yeah. I think it happens to, like, a lot of comedic actors sometimes where it's, like, as they get older, like, the comedy doesn't hit the same. You know, like, it's like Jerry Seinfeld coming out with Unfrosted, where it's just like, Jerry,
yeah,
you just didn't, like, you're
not evolving with the times.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it happens because, you know, when you're younger, you're more, like, into the times. Right. Whereas now you're so wealthy and you're so, like, outside of the world of reality, like, people can't really...
You're not relatable, yeah.
You're not relatable, and it somehow translates into, like, an interesting vibe in your work. But I just think Will Smith is, like, I don't want to say on a downward trajectory, but I'm just like, what are you doing?
But I don't think... This is why I say he peaked then, because I think he's chasing that, like, who he was then. You know what I mean?
They're all chasing who they were when they peaked. You know what I mean?
Fair, but yeah.
And I think, again, like...
No, I didn't
one
see
of the
King
curses.
Richard, so I can't really speak on that.
Oh, it was... He deserved that Oscar. It was pretty incredible. I watched it recently, because I, like, didn't get to watch it when, like, Slapgate happened. But... And then you, like, watch, like, actually, like, Serena and Venus Williams' dad, and it's, like, spot on. It is incredible.
He kind of reminds me of, like, Tom Cruise or something, where I think he'll put his all into something.
Yeah. He put his pussy into this, I think.
I appreciate, but I just, again, I'm like, nothing to me will ever top Fresh Prince. Because I loved that show.
It is a good show.
He was so funny on it.
It was always my like after school show. Like, it was always on at like 2:30 when I would get home from school, and I'd be like, oh, I'm eating my little snacks and watching Fresh Prince. I think like Fresh Prince was definitely both his peak and his start, maybe his comedic peak. But I think he is a fantastic actor. But I just think like there's something going on there. I don't know, like, people love to blame the woman. I don't think it's like Jada Pinkett Smith's like total fault, but I think like their relationship maybe wasn't good for either of them. Like,
they're just both a couple weirdos. I don't know.
And they're honestly raised a couple
Offspring,
weirdos. Yeah, like just, and also I'm like, what if your kids listening to this song are just gonna be like,
I was thinking that too, because you were saying I felt like the women, the girls were older.
Yeah,
like they seemed like older dancers, which I kind of was like, oh, that's like interesting. You were like, really? I feel like they're like in their 20s or 30s, and I was like, well, that'd be weird because his kids are that age. So it's just like, again, it's like weird that he's like dancing with.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Not that men don't do that all the time, but
yeah,
still.
but I don't know. And they don't seem to have those kind of boundaries in their family. Anyway,
no, they definitely don't. They seem like the type of like parents that would treat their kids as adults from like birth.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I mean, he made his kid act in his movies.
Oh yeah, that's right. Remember when he showed up as a piano? Will Smith, not Will Smith. Jaden Smith. And also, like, so I used to think it was clever, and now I'm like, that's kind of strange that your kids are Jaden and Willow, and your names are Jada and Will.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
And I sometimes forget that those are their kids.
Yeah. Where are they? What have they been up to?
I feel like I do always hear about Jaden.
I hear about him on red carpets, but I don't never see him do anything recently. But anyways,
no idea.
Don't listen to the song. I wouldn't recommend it unless you want, like, if you're just curious. Yeah. It's a vibe.
But it's not like that entertaining.
It's something.
Yeah.
It's a Will Smith new song, and that's a rarity in 20 years, you know?
It's true.
But also, speaking of another artist who hasn't produced any music in what feels like 20 years, we got to get into the Justin Bieber drama.
Which I feel like for a while we've always just been, like, casually touching on.
Yeah, well, because it's nothing... And the thing is, it happens casually, you know? It's just like a comment here or there, or like I'm standing on business, or whatever.
No,
you know what I mean?
It's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business.
Yeah, which I've noticed now... Was it, like, in the lexicon before, or is it because of Justin Bieber? Like, I hear everyone saying it very seriously now.
That sentence?
Yeah, not the clocking, but, like, I'm standing on business.
Yeah, that was already, like, it's just very, like, online speak. So, like, somebody being like, it's not
yeah.
I clocked her tea or whatever. Like, it's like, but it's just the fact that he said that as a full sentence in a serious tone was what was, like, so hilarious about it.
And I think, like, so the build up to this is, like, obviously we talked about, like, the 7-part series that happened, and then
about Hailey Bieber being, like, obsessed with Justin, whether that's true or not, whatever. And then we have mentioned the paparazzi thing, which happened just, like, a few weeks ago. And then, so for Mother's Day, just, like, and it just really feel like he has to know what he's doing. I think he's just online too much. He, like, posted Mother's Day sucks ass, and it was, like, a picture of, like, I think Hailey and the baby or something like that, or, like, he commented on it. And I think it's supposed to be funny, but it's like it doesn't, and maybe it's like an inside joke between them, but it's like that doesn't translate to other people,
right? And you're one of those famous people in the world, so like you can't, like, an inside joke like that. So then Hailey posted for Father's Day, and she said Father's Day sucks ass, and it's just interesting. So everyone was, like, worried about Justin Bieber because of his, like, recent, like, just the way he's been acting, and he's
descent into madness.
Yes, and so he, like, I took a screenshot of it. He posted this statement to Instagram, as a peak millennial does, where he said, "People keep telling me to heal. Don't you think if I could have fixed myself, I would have already? I know I'm broken. I know I have anger issues. I tried to do the work my whole life to be like the people who told me I needed to be fixed like them. And it just keeps making me more tired and more angry. The harder I try to grow, the more focused on myself I am. Jesus is the only person who keeps me wanting to make my life about others, because honestly, I'm exhausted with thinking about myself lately. Aren't you?"
I was exhausted listening to that.
Yeah, I just, like, and I'm just like, yeah, you do sound like you're, like, broken and need some help, and I do think you've seen some shit in your life.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I think being a celebrity in the age of, like, social media, where it's just so easy to, like, post your, like, kind of wild thoughts all the time, is honestly a lot of celebrities' downfalls. Like, if you were a celebrity in the 90s, it was so much easier to just be like, yeah, I'm privately having a breakdown.
But I'm curious, it kind of reminds me of, like, Kanye, like, and Kim, because we sort of compared his, like, I always wonder, like, what's going on behind closed doors. Like, sometimes they would show on the Kardashians, Kim would be, like, acknowledging Kanye's behavior, and, like, she tried to stand by him as at least this was, like, the narrative that she put out, was that she tried to stand by him as, like, his wife, but, like, also she doesn't totally agree with things he's saying. This was before they, like, split up. But I always wonder, like, what is Hailey saying behind closed doors? Like, is she getting mad at him for doing all this stuff?
I don't know. I honestly really feel for her, because it is, like, you know, this is a situation probably that she, I don't want to say dreamed of, but, like, she dreamed of being Justin Bieber's wife. And now, like, she has this kind of broken man, which, like, you know, you get married for better or for worse, but it sounds like he's also probably treating her not great.
I mean, he just seems like he treats her like shit, and I've never seen anything to make me think otherwise.
And I know, like, people are like, well, like, he has mental health issues, and I get that. I don't think it's ever an excuse to treat someone poorly.
No.
And I think
to say Mother's Day sucks ass.
Yeah.
And whether that's a joke or not, I'm kind of like, but that's embarrassing for her.
And he, like, comments on other girls' pages being, like, with fire emojis and, like famous people, other famous people. And it's just, like, it's interesting. And, like, I know they're very religious, and there was a whole thing a little while ago that got shut down very quickly where it was, like, maybe Justin Bieber starting a cult. Like, with the whole Hillsong thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he was, like, involved in that.
I think for sure he was, but, like, he's just got, like, a PR team that shuts it down, you know? Again, allegedly, all allegedly. We don't have any lawyers. Please don't sue us. But I I don't know. Like, I feel for him and I feel for her, but most of all, I also feel for their child.
Yeah, seriously.
And people are like, oh, that child's going to be a millionaire. It'll be fine. It's going to be, like, we just, like, this whole discussion with, like, parents and stuff, or with money and love. But I'm like, I think especially when it comes to parental, like, love and stability, I think you were saying this, like, your mom always said or something that, like, the most important thing to, like, a child is, like, stability.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I don't think, like, I would rather give up millions and have, like, stability and be, like, I don't know. But hopefully their baby is, I don't know what I'm saying. Hopefully their baby
baby is happy.
Hopefully
Good
Jack,
luck to him.
their baby Jack is going to grow up to be happy and, like.
Jack Bieber.
Yeah.
Imagine growing up and your last name is Bieber.
Yeah.
Imagine growing up and being Justin Bieber's kid. Like, that's kind of wild.
I know, but I feel like you always say this, and I'm like, but they don't know anything else, so it would just be, like, normal. They'd just be like, what, you have a regular parent? They'd be like, that's wild.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what the future looks like for them, but
I feel bad for her. Like, I feel, no matter what people say, because I know there's always, like, a whole thing with her and Selena and, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people hate her. But I just think, like, no one deserves, well, I don't know. I just feel like the way that he treats her is not ideal.
And she seems
like
a very nice,
really sweet,
genuine person.
Yeah.
Whether or not she was obsessed with him, who cares?
But wouldn't any girl at that age, at that time, would have wanted to marry him? She just was able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, she stalked his life.
Okay.
But, like, didn't every girl at that time?
Yeah, who hasn't?
I didn't, but
I
actually didn't care about Justin Bieber.
I was not a believer. I was not into the Jonas Brothers. I didn't really care about Pretty Boys. I wanted that All-American Rejects guy who looked like he just, like, came off of the streets. I was, like, 12 years old. I was like, that's my man.
Yes. Sorry, I'm like I'm unwillingly yawning right now. I physically can't stop it.
No, it's okay.
It's kind of wild.
It's my comforting presence. Me yelling into this microphone.
Yeah.
Aren't you comforted?
I'm like a little animal. Like, I feel safe here, and it's you just yelling into a
like
microphone.
When friend of the pod Emily was like, "Yeah, I listen to your podcast. I listen to it to fall asleep."
I'm like, we're actively screaming.
Yeah, we're crashing out.
Yeah,
it's the first time I've ever
we need
used
to be
that.
Locking in.
Did I pass as Gen Z?
We need to be standing on business.
Yeah,
it's not clocking. Are you
clocking it?
It's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business. It's like, I'd be so embarrassed by that if I were Hailey.
Yeah, and also, like, you know, people have been commenting about the way he dresses. Like, I just think he, not has given up, but I think he has a lot of stuff to work through.
But she deserves more than that. And also, people were saying, like, because he's always mean to her, and then when she recently got the cover of Vogue, and so now it's like, then he was posting about that and being, like, he was being nice to her then and, like, posting and whatever, and it was like, oh, now because she has the cover of Vogue, like, you're doing that.
It is, sometimes he does go through these phases where he's like, look at my beautiful wife, and, like, post about her, and then it'll be like, Mother's Day sucks ass, or, like, say something, like, sarcastic and, like, weird, or, like, you know, leave her tripping over him on a scooter.
It kind of reminds me of, like, this isn't quite the same, but you know how, like, what's the name? Not Ryan Gosling. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, like, they always had that kind of back and forth comedic relationship where they were always, like, making fun of each other, and people thought they were, like, couple goals, like, haha. And I always thought, I was like, I wouldn't really want to be known for always being like I'd be kind of annoyed if my husband was always posting photos and, like, cropping my face out and, like, always making jokes like that. To me, it's kind of like, at some point, it's, like, not really funny. It's kind of like, what's going on there, you know?
I'm curious, like, because, you know, people obviously clocked the stuff with Justin Bieber. Clocked it like, very quickly, but with, like, the whole Ryan Reynolds Blake Lively thing, everyone's like, oh, this is couple goals, and maybe it's just, like, the tone that's different, because I do think, like, Justin Bieber seems meaner sometimes.
Yeah, he is meaner. I think with them it's like they were just put together, and he just seems like this kind of childish, crazy boy. Like, I don't know. I'm not really sure the difference. Well, he just seems unhinged, I'll be honest. But I think with Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, it was them genuinely being funny, but I didn't really think it was funny.
Yeah, interesting. So I don't know what's happening there, but we hope the best for the Bieber family. We hope everyone gets the help that they deserve, whether they need it or not.
And that's what we're ending on here, because we had a lot of heavy topics today.
Yeah. So anyways, thanks for popping in with us this week. As always, like, subscribe, rate, review. We want more friends. Again, it's just me and Molly. We're the only people that talk to each other, plus all of our friends of the pod. But we want more.
Yeah.
What does Veruca Salt say?
We're done with you guys. I'm just kidding.
I want more. I don't know if she says that. Anyways.
She says, I want a feast. I want a bean feast.
I want a friend feast. Not that I'll eat people. But anyways, whatever. We've been talking and chatting in this hot-ass room for a long time.
Yeah,
so
we're disintegrating in here.
Stay cool. Pop in. Pop off. But most importantly...
Pop in.
Pop in. But anyways, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Bye.